Hello, everybody. Welcome to the inaugural episode of the Denver Protests podcast. Very excited to be here. Very happy to be here. Got co-hosts Bug and Constant
Hi.
right there on the line.
Hello.
Hello, hello. So basically, the goal of this project is to create another platform or create another area for people to learn more about what's going on in the Denver protest community. We feel like that, there's obviously tons of different, content out there about everything. It's a flooded market. But one thing that we're hoping to do is to highlight some protests that might not otherwise be highlighted. Provide people with more information about what's going on when these things are happening, and offer a different perspective on things that we feel like might not always get the front foot in other forms of media. But yeah, I want to throw it to you guys and give you a chance to introduce yourselves. Constant, do you want to go first?
Okay, well, my name is Constant Gardner, and you may know me from the Denver protests subreddit and the Discord. I am a sex worker. I am an anarcho-socialist, I guess, anarcho-communist, depending on the day. And I'm an abolitionist, just a general rabble-rouser, loudmouth bitch, and I'm also in DSA. So that's me.
Hi, I'm Bug. I use they them pronouns. I've been in and out of activism for a long time now, but happy to have found my little activist home with our little community here. Yeah, that's me. Back to you,
Awesome.
AJ.
Love it. Hello. Perfect. Great. So, my name is AJ. I'm Harvard educated. I used to work at
That
the
is a lie.
McKinsey.
That is a lie.
Well, hold on. First of all, you know that's a lie. It is a lie.
I do
I was
know
doing a
that it is
bit
a
where
lie.
I was going to be Pete Buttigieg, but we just
I'm
walked
so
all
sorry.
over that.
I ruined it.
So then I worked at McKinsey, and then I was the mayor of South Bend. So
I'm sorry. I ruined your bit.
you just trampled that. That was
I'm
like
Honestly, I think that was funny.
unbelievable.
False.
All
All
right.
right. Take it away, Pete. Take it away, Mayo Pete. Buttigieg, Buddha jury, Buddha executioner.
What a weird time where he was like the Great White Hope. We're talking about Denver protests, upcoming Denver protests. That's some big ones.
Yeah, we've had some big protests here recently.
We've had some big protests recently. In the last week, we had the anti-Eric Trump demonstration, to be very clear, which was attended, I know, at minimum by what's the band called? Notes of Dissent. For anyone who plays a musical instrument and wants to get involved in making noise at protests, get involved with Notes of Dissent. They're a super cool group of people. We also had the standing Tesla takedown. And those happen every week. They are standing protests. I'm pretty sure they happen on Saturdays.
And it's by the way, it's typically at all four. There's often actions at all four Tesla dealerships in the Front Range. So there's Superior, Loveland, Littleton, and Aurora, I think, are the four. And there's usually
I don't think it's at Aurora.
okay, so forget the Aurora one, but yeah, you can check the Denver protests subreddit for up-to-date information about the Tesla takedown protests and all of the other protests in Denver.
We also had the Fox takedown, which, as far as I know, it is just kind of one guy standing outside yelling at Fox, which we think is awesome. And we always love to see those kind of like solo protests.
Right. So remember, friends, a protest of one is still a protest. So just be the weird free Iran guy at the Capitol that you wish to see in the world. If there is something you want to protest for and you can't make it down to the Capitol or whatever, get out on your street corner with a sign, start yelling at people. We support you.
Yep, we do. We do. We definitely do support that. Free Guy is one of the most visible, I would say. uh, yeah, he's out there a lot,
Yeah,
and
we
respects.
don't. To be clear, we're not really on board with Free Guy's politics, but we appreciate his enthusiasm for his cause. You know,
Absolutely, and I think that we could all learn something from Free Guy. Kind of like what you were saying, is that don't be shy about your causes. Don't, feel like, oh, I shouldn't go out there and stand at a busy intersection with like an entire fleet of flags with no discernible political message, which is what I can best suss out from Free Guy. Shouts out to him though, sincerely. So yeah, we had that one. We also had, by that one I mean the Fox takedown, not the Free Iran guy. We are not associated with him. I don't want to take credit or accept responsibility for anything he does or does not. But no, we also had the big one. No Kings. I don't see any Kings around here. Do you see any Kings? No, I don't know. Go ahead.
I also don't see any Kings.
It must have worked.
Yes, it was. To be fair, we had kind of a weird situation going on here in Denver. So the No Kings event was 50-51, and they did like a resource fair where a bunch of different organizations got together, and people could stop by tents and kind of learn about the different things that were going on and plug into them. And the protest was separate. That was actually led by Colorado Palestine Coalition and a bunch of their member organizations. And that was the protest. So it was kind of a No Kings protest, but it kind of also wasn't. Regardless, it did have a pretty kick-ass turnout. Do you remember how many people were at the No Kings Day stuff?
Yeah, we heard pretty wide ranging estimates. The lowest I saw was 5,000, which I think is, again, I'm not a numbers guy. I'm not a spatial thinker. It seemed like there were more than 5,000 people there to me. The highest I heard was like 30,000, which, sure, I'm willing to believe that. When Bernie and AOC were down at Civic Center earlier this year, they said there was like almost 50, I think, and it felt like similar.
34.
It was 30. I don't think there were 30,000 at No Kings. I think it was probably more in the 10 range would be my. And again, I am basing that on absolutely nothing but vibes. So just take that as what it is. But also, it was kind of ongoing. There were like multiple different marches. Then there was the resource fair. So maybe throughout the day, I would put it at 10. But again, you don't quote me on that, but I think it was more than 5 personally.
Oh yeah, it had to have been, because there were so many people coming down there throughout the entire day, from like 11 until like, I think the No Kings thing wrapped up sometime in the early afternoon or early evening, but like it was packed the entire time, and I think like 5 or 6 or maybe even more actual marches left from that spot. So
wait, PSL also did their they did the ice out of Denver or whatever. They did that at like 4, I think. So yeah, there was it was a huge day. It was hotter than fucking hell out there. So make sure you hydrate. There was people got overheated. So I personally didn't go because I cannot be out there when it's 98 degrees in the midday sun. But huge shout out to everybody that did make it out.
Yeah, no, it was a scorcher for sure. And also, once the main kind of demonstrations dispersed and the night kind of came in, we did have some spicier interactions, and I know that we wound up having a couple people arrested. I don't know if we have exact numbers about that, but Bug, I know that you were down there the next day dealing with all that. You want to talk to that a little bit?
Yeah. So no, I do not think we ever got a final count that was actually accurate on the arrests from the police. We had one of our community members get detained in all of the kerfuffle, and people on the inside were saying that there were probably around 40 arrests that were just protest related.
Yeah, I
And
think the police said it was something like 18, but that's too low. There were more than 18.
yeah. Because we talked to about 15 people who had been released throughout the day on Sunday. And by the time we were leaving around 4 p.m., a sheriff had walked by and updated us that there were still 22 people inside waiting to be released. So much, much more than 18 people were arrested.
Yeah, it sounds like the latest numbers that we're getting from the DPD were, well, they're now up to 36. Because, yeah, according, this is just from CBS, sounds like the DPD originally said that on Sunday 17 people were arrested, but then did later revise that number up to 36. So, I mean, that's a significant amount of people who were, caught up for all kinds of different stuff. Again, this is all just according to CBS and according to the DPD through CBS, that, the people arrested were age 18 to 51, with most of them being in their 20s. It sounds like they did have one minor who was cited and then released. And people were arrested for all kinds of stuff. Sounds like failure to obey.
Right. Or were snatched up while actively dispersing, while we know someone who was leaving the protest and got snatched up on the way out. So make that make sense.
Well, it's just a good reminder to that point that I hear a lot, and I'm sure we all hear this a lot, is this idea that, if you're not doing anything wrong, to be worried about, as kind of like a refrain against kind of like trying to do like protest policing, you know what I mean? So when stuff like that happens, it's like, not really though, so just not doing protest policing. Everyone can do whatever they want, far be it from us to tell anyone how to get out there and express their political opinions. But be mindful of the kind of inherent risks that comes with. Because like you were saying, Constant, that you can get snatched up for complying orders, for being in the wrong place at the wrong time, for doing what I think anyone would reasonably, understand as nothing wrong,
Right. I mean, I think it's important to note that these arrests were not, most of them were for failing to comply with a lawful order, which what that means is they were arrested for protesting, for standing in the street. So this is what they do with these arrests is they arrest people on kind of trumped up charges that typically all of these charges are going to be dropped. Nobody's actually going to have that taken to court. But what they do is they snatch up as many people as possible. Bug mentioned the lack of a shower. I think important context there is that people were dripping in chemical irritants and were not allowed to wash the chemical irritants off of themselves, which is like torture. It's torture. And so what they do is they try to, like, jail is a really, really shitty experience anyway, but they try to make it extra shitty for you so that you will, the whole goal of that is to just like silence your voice and make you think about going out to a protest again, which is bullshit. It is our First Amendment right to do that. And they know what they're doing. And they did some shit like, they said that the computer was down. Normally, if you want to bail somebody out of Denver County, you can do that online. They claimed the computer was down so that we couldn't do that. And so then the people...
That's such like... I'm sorry, but that excuse is just like the laziest level of trying to just like the most dismissive, like the computer's down? Like, what does it even mean?
I mean, it's just classic, like bureaucratic fucking... City of Denver bullshit, as somebody who's worked for the municipal government here. Just real classic bullshit. And then they make it, when we go in to bail people out, then you have to like sit there for 6 hours because they're just trying to keep you as long as possible, make it as shitty as possible, make it hard for your friends and family to come get you in the hopes that you won't go out and protest again. But that's usually not what happens. Usually people who get arrested and treated like that are even more motivated to get back out there the next time. That's certainly the case for a lot of the people that we spoke to. So yeah, fuck those arrests. Fuck the fucking police. They're pieces of shit. People think because we live in a blue city or whatever, a sanctuary city where they're not cooperating with ICE, It doesn't mean anything. All right. All cops are bastards. They are here to protect Capitol. They are not your friends, and they do not keep you safe. So don't ever forget that. And when people get arrested, don't blame them, because the cops are the ones who get violent pretty much every single time. So I anticipate there will be further arrests as the
It's gonna be a
protests.
long summer. There's
It's
a
going to be
lot
a
of
long,
yeah.
hot summer.
There's a lot of summer to go. But speaking of, I think that's a great segue, talking about police action and, you know, moments of political expression in American history where police action, you know, results in violence and results in civil strife. And kind of the reason for the season, more or less, which are the Stonewall riots. Is that what they're called? They're called the Stonewall riots, right? Is it cool to say that?
It depends on who you ask.
Wikipedia.
So they'll call it this. Some people call it the Stonewall riots. The Library of Congress guide calls it the Stonewall uprising.
Oh, does it? That sounds cooler, honestly. I think that sounds cooler.
And I'll read a couple quotes for you from the Library of Congress. This person said, "It was a rebellion. It was an uprising. It was a civil rights disobedience. It wasn't no damn riot." And that's Stormy Delarvery, sorry if I butchered your name, and that says she was a butch lesbian who participated in the Stonewall uprising. And another quote was, "The rebellion, it was never a riot, lasted 5 inconsecutive nights. They were not riots." And that's the Stonewall Veterans Association. So people who participated in Stonewall object to characterizing it as a riot, and they prefer the terms uprising or rebellion.
I do like the term uprising. I mean, personally, I totally understand this is not maybe a universally held opinion, but I don't necessarily think a riot has a pejorative connotation, but I do completely understand that that term is often assigned to political actions or demonstrations or uprisings as an attempt to delegitimize them or to make them seem more, you know, senselessly violent than they might have been. It kind of removes any kind of broader context if you say, oh, it was just a riot. I don't know. For me, riots, like Pussy Riot, that's a cool band.
I mean, amen. Riots can be good. I hate to be the white person dropping the MLK quote, but I'm going to do it. He said the riot is the language of the unheard. So, you know, we don't talk enough about that, I think intentionally in this country, about how riots are kind of the reason the Civil Rights Act got passed. So sometimes riots get shit done. And for the record, no one on this podcast is condoning rioting or trying to get you to riot. So don't arrest us for that incitement. Because we're not. But yeah.
No. Well, no. We're not.
We're speaking historically. We're speaking in hypotheticals.
Yeah. Educational purposes exclusively. But wait a minute. So we breezed past this. When you were doing that Library of Congress quote, was that the first person, the Stormy last name, can't pronounce, I'm sorry. Was she actually credited in the quote as a butch lesbian?
She was indeed credited in the quote as a butch lesbian.
That's pretty good.
That is correct.
Respect. So yeah, this this Stonewall uprising, this Stonewall incident is, I think, I personally never learned about this growing up. At any point, I can't remember the first time I ever heard about it, but there's a lot of things that go into it that I feel like often get glossed over in terms of like the antagonism of the NYPD in, kicking this whole thing off. It wasn't, this thing where it was, an unprovoked, just kind of materialized from nowhere. It came out of like repeated police raids from this bar in New York City. Again, I'm cribbing a lot of this, cards on the table, from Wikipedia. I'm not planning to be a scholar. But Constance Gardner, I know that you know more. You can speak.
Well, I'm cribbing this from the Library of Congress.
Oh, that's
so
better.
I'm
that's even
a better scholar because I actually went to Harvard, unlike AJ, who is stealing my Ivy League valor. Just kidding. I went to CU Denver. But yeah, so
the Harvard of the West. Go ahead.
Harvard. But yeah, so Stonewall was in 1969. It was June 28th, 1969. So the anniversary is coming up. And that is the roots of Pride. And I think it's just really important to acknowledge that as queer people about the reason that we have Pride today. It is a fun parade now where we get to go buy our rainbow trinkets and our tchotchkes and, get drunk with our queer friends. And that's great. But it started to commemorate this uprising. And the context of that is that it was illegal to be gay in most of the country. It was illegal to be gay in New York City until 1980. And for the youths here, I don't mean like, gay marriage was illegal. Like, yeah, that came a lot later. I mean that it was illegal to even be queer and be in a queer relationship and basically exist as an openly queer person in New York City until 1980. So that's the context in which this happened. So there were, throughout I believe the West Village, there were, I think it was the West Village, sorry. There were, gay bars that were technically illegal. And so those bars had to pay like a protection racket to the mafia. And the mafia didn't do a great job of protecting them. And so they were constantly getting raided by the police, shook down, beat up, arrested, harassed. It happened all the time, very regularly at all of the bars. And so the Stonewall itself had been raided earlier in the week, prior to the night of the uprising, where basically they had just had enough. And there's some debate about, who threw the first brick. The apocryphal version is that it was Marsha P. Johnson, who was a Black trans sex worker who threw the first brick. She herself disputes that, said she didn't get down to the Stonewall until about 2 a.m. after the uprising was well underway. But basically, they were kind of heckling the police as they were getting raided. They were voguing and partying during the arrests, as one does, because my queer people are fabulous. And yeah, so then it just got, the police had started the violence, and finally, the queer people fought back and started throwing shit at them. And it turned into like a multi-night uprising against the cops. So that's like the quick and dirty history of Stonewall, but it's really, really important that we honor that history, I think. And that is why a lot of us are firmly no cops at Pride, because like the cops were what they were fighting at Stonewall. The cops are not our friends. They historically have been oppressors of queer people, and just because they've like kind of knocked that off recently, doesn't change the history of it. So yeah,
no, absolutely. And I think, like you said, it's important to provide this context of the inciting incident for why Pride is when it is, and think about what Pride has kind of become. And again, straight guy here, far be it from me. But, I just know that the sponsors of the Denver Pride in particular, and the kind of corporatization of this whole month, it's a joke at this point, but, rainbow capitalism is something that I think goes a long way towards like neutering the more radical edges of this movement. Denver has a pretty vibrant LGBT plus population. I think it's one of the top 10 metro areas for LGBT plus population, despite I think it's like the 15th or 20th biggest metro area for like total population. And there's a long history of a vibrant community here in Denver. Especially I live in the part of Denver where it's like very active, and I think that's often reflected with a lot of pride, no pun intended. Jesus Christ. Is that why they call it that? So you can't even like talk about it? Anyway.
Yeah. No, Denver, I make fun of Denver a lot for being a cow town, and it is, and I stand by it. I've lived here for 28 years. It's my right to dog it when I want to. But we do we do have a great gay scene. We have a great drag scene, especially for a city of like our size and relative lameness. So I think it's good to celebrate. And we have, we've had a pretty big, robust Pride celebration for a long time. So I do feel like we're lucky here in Denver that we have that. And I am torn about rainbow capitalism because I'm old enough to remember when it like wasn't okay to be gay. When I went to high school here in the Denver area, in a small town. There were no out gay people. This wasn't that long ago. It just wasn't okay. And so rainbow capitalism basically showed more societal acceptance for us, and that it was okay to be openly gay, and it was something to celebrate, and we didn't have to do like hate the sinner or hate the sin, love the sinner, whatever bullshit. So I think like also personally, I just really like rainbow aesthetics. So that's my own, my own thing there. But I think so rainbow capitalism, it's empty, it's kind of toothless, it's corporatized. But now that we're starting to see some rolling back of like DEI stuff, and like Target is not doing nearly as much. All of their Pride stuff is online this year, and it's very kind of love is love. There's not like a lot of overt, trans, queer kind of language. Now that we're seeing shit getting rolled back, I think, we kind of I'm going to miss rainbow capitalism just a little bit, because it's signifying a rolling back of the social acceptance of queer people. And that is both bad and scary.
Yeah, no, for sure. I totally hear that. And like you said, I mean, I'm old enough to remember, like the first time I ever really knew, or like I'll say this, the first Pride like event I ever attended was in 2018. So that is not that long ago. And I know that like when I was growing up personally, that like June being like Pride Month was not something that at least I was aware of in my neck of the woods.
No, me neither.
Yeah. So like there is, I think, a lot to be said for that idea of gaining that broader, whatever it means to be like have social acceptance. I think that is like obvious, huge good. The thing that is a bummer is the idea that this is whatever. You can't really find anything that isn't underwritten by bad people doing bad shit. But like here in Denver, the really galling thing is that Coors is one of the main sponsors of Denver Pride. And they have like a long and sordid history of its relationship, it's being Coors, to the relationship with the LGBT plus community. One of the longest boycotts of a single product in American history was the gay and queer community boycotting Coors. And the Coors family, there's a lot to be said about them. Pieces of shit, don't drink Coors.
Yeah, we'll probably do a whole episode just about how Coors is a bunch of pieces of shit.
Dude, and yeah. Well, we'd be stepping on, yeah. No, there's but and it sucks because I think, Bug, you were saying that the first Pride you ever went to in Denver was just called like Coors, like Pride by Coors or something. It was called something fucking crazy, right?
Yeah, it was like Coors Pride.
Yeah, like, see, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, to have this company sponsoring Pride in such a vocal way, in such a present way, is pretty wild.
Yeah, they've always been heavily featured at Pride, which is garbage.
Yeah. And I mean, like, it makes sense, I guess, like, because they're fucking here and they sponsor everything. They built a baseball park and put their fucking name on it. But, like, the history of this intense antagonism between this stupid beer company that is so wrapped up in the identity of this city, in this state, in this entire region, it does feel like it's co-opting it, right? Like if you had told the people who were boycotting, like Harvey Milk was instrumental, he was a big part of this like Coors boycott. If you had told Harvey Milk that like there would be a Pride Fest sponsored by Coors, I have to imagine wouldn't be a fan,
Agreed.
Yeah. But anyway, I don't want to harp on Coors. Like I said, we can do a whole.
Yeah, we'll come for you later, Coors. Don't worry. And on a totally unrelated note, this episode of the Denver Protest Podcast is sponsored by Palantir.
I was gonna say, like, look, I'm not above Coors. If you guys want us to stop talking shit, listen. I'll send you the rowdy number. But no, there's other shitty sponsors. UC Health, sponsor of this. UC Health is a massive healthcare organization in the state of Colorado. As any massive healthcare organization in this country operates from a lot of human suffering, profiting off of a lot of human suffering on a daily and hourly basis. So not great. Just don't let them pinkwash it, I think is what we're saying. Just don't let them buy away their bullshit. Another sponsor we also have is Chevron. Chevron, there was an action by DSA earlier this year, I'm pretty sure, to get them to not be a sponsor of the marathon, the Colfax Marathon. They are a sponsor of Denver Pride. Visa, and again, look, we're not naive. We know this is how things are. That's whatever. But doesn't mean it doesn't suck. And it doesn't mean it's not.
We live in capitalist hell, and we're allowed to complain about it. Damn it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just, yeah. But I think that we're all in agreement where we say this is not us saying don't go to Pride and don't have a good time. Maybe don't drink a Coors because there's better beer and better things to drink, and they suck as a company. But I'm not, we're not. Yeah, go to Pride, have fun. Maybe pause for a second and think about why these companies are sponsoring it and what that means for broader queer acceptance movement. Maybe take a moment between doing whatever to think about, or don't. I don't give a shit. We don't give a shit, but it's just something to consider.
Yeah, I mean, go and buy some art or other items from the queer artists that are exhibiting there. That would be great. But no, I think it's important because we're pretty spoiled in Denver that we do have this amazing LGBTQ plus community, and we do have a really active Pride. But there are people moving here all the time that come from places where they don't have Pride at all, and so we do not want to shit on you going to your first Pride and experiencing what that feels like to just be amongst all of your fellow queer weirdos and feel accepted while you shop for rainbow tchotchkes. Okay, just do it, but just also think about the bricks that were thrown so that you could shop for rainbow trinkets and drink overpriced alcohol at Civic Center. Think about the bricks that were thrown.
Yeah, and if you're gonna drink the alcohol, maybe not Coors. It just feels too bad.
It's too on the nose.
It's too on the nose to drink the Coors. But no, just pick up what you're saying. I think that's a great point. The idea, make community there. That's the point. That's the best thing that I think that comes out of things like this, No Kings or Pride, is that because it's a trite and banal point to make at this point, but people are very atomized, people are very isolated, male loneliness, female loneliness, non-binary loneliness, everyone's fucking lonely, more or less, right? So go out there and interact with people who on some basic level share your values, get plugged into whatever kind of community, and it will make you feel less dead inside.
I think what AJ is saying is get out there and get some strange. That's what I'm hearing.
Get it fucking wet, dude. Whatever you're doing.
There's
your
still
mental
a little
health
time left in June to have queer sex. So have it.
Well, there's as we're recording, there's 4 days left in June. So everybody go out there, have the fucking craziest sex you can. It's the best thing for your mental health, I think.
It can be, but that's a topic for another episode. Okay.
We're a sex positive podcast.
We are.
Hell yeah. So on that note, coming up, we got a lot of good stuff. Well, we mentioned the Tesla Tesla takedowns, which are recurring. I feel like a lot of the kind of momentum behind those has dissipated a little bit because I don't know. I feel like since he had Elon and Trump had their whole thing, there's not as much ire directed at him, which I think sucks because he being Elon,
he's still a piece of shit. I will say though, this weekend actually is, I think it's gonna be more lit than usual, because his birthday, Elon's birthday, is June 28th. So there are 4 Tesla takedown protests on June 28th. It says Musk must fall. So there's 10 a.m. to noon at the Colorado Springs Tesla dealership, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Littleton Tesla, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. in Loveland, and then 10 a.m. to noon in Superior. So those are all happening Saturday, June 28th. If any of those are close to you, get out there and wave your signs against Elon and his
get Elon
garbage cars.
Get a cake that says "fuck you, Elon." Be super edgy and bring it to the takedown and share with all your friends.
Mm-hmm. And then eat it. Yeah.
And then eat the cake. We also got the Fox. I love the Fox takedown, dude. I think it's like, I love it so much. Like I said, it's more or less this guy kind of spearheading it, and people come out when they can. And that happens at the Fox building, whatever, at 100 Spear Boulevard, 1 p.m. on Saturday. So if you hate Fox News, as you know, the 3 people listening to this podcast probably do, and you're free on a Saturday, yeah, man, go out there, yell at Fox, tell them that they are, in no small part responsible for why everyone's parents have bad politics.
Facts.
So we have. Oh yeah, who doesn't? I mean, like, yeah, it's. We have a standing protest at the Capitol Saturdays at noon for Indigenous. I think that's for Indigenous women specifically.
It's missing and murdered Indigenous women's awareness.
Yes. So that's a standing protest Saturdays at noon. On Mondays, another standing protest at the ICE facility out there in Aurora. Around, I think it starts around 6 or 6:30 in the evening. Those have been happening for a while now. I feel like
couple months,
yeah, to support Jeanette Vizgara and the other folks being detained at that, subcontracted, like RoboCop ass facility they have out there.
Yes. And it's 3130 North Oakland Street in Aurora. You can always check our upcoming protests post for the details as well, but that's going to be every Monday evening, usually like 6 to 8 p.m.
Hell yeah.
And then, well, arguably the most important one though is the Stonewall Memorial Stonewall Anniversary March, Saturday, June 28th, 11 a.m. Cheeseman Park. It's put on by Colorado Palestine Coalition, Denver Anti-War Action, Denver FRSO, the Gay Liberation Front for Palestine, and Bread and Roses Legal Center. So yeah, that one, that is more rooted in the. It's rooted in the roots. It is more centered in the roots of Pride, of Stonewall. That's going to be like a more radical, non-corporate way to commemorate the Stonewall uprising. So if that's more your jam, head over there, and you could go to, the big Civic Center Pride afterwards if you want to.
Yeah, there's time for both.
Yeah,
there's time
totally.
For both. But yeah, it's been a busy month. It's been a busy summer. It's gonna be a lot more stuff going on, and I think that one thing that we definitely hope to do is just to provide an additional platform to keep folks aware of what's going on, and hope to see everyone out there. That's one of the best things that I've done for myself personally over the past I don't know, year, is like getting more involved in stuff, because I was involved with it. Life happens, getting more plugged into it. And I'll just say, for anyone, like myself, who wasn't able to make time for it, and again, I don't blame anyone. Like, there's enough things to do to keep yourself alive. But if you're ever like in a position where you're like hemming and hawing, like, should I go? Or like, I don't know anyone there, like, that's cool, man. You'll meet people there. It'll be a great time. And if you don't, like, whatever, you will have done something that is an expression of your values, which I think has its own kind of currency. So
Absolutely. I mean, I used to go out to the 2020 protests by myself because I didn't know anybody. And that's part of the
Same,
way that I
dude.
found the Denver protest subreddit. I wasn't a moderator back then, but that's part of how I found it. So that's a great segue into plugging our shit. So if you are looking for people to go to the protests with, you should join our Discord. We have a live event chat in there. We have info about the upcoming protests. And usually you may find one or two people that are also going alone that might be down to meet up with you. So definitely don't be afraid to go alone, but also our spaces are a great place to meet other people that you can march with and hang out with. So we hope to see you there. 100%.
Love it. All right. I think that's a wrap. I think we're good.
Yeah. Well, we lost Bug there for a minute.
This did happen.
For all of it. So Bug is still part of the podcast. They are just having technical difficulties. But we'll get those ironed out for next time. So yeah, make sure you follow us on Reddit, r/Denver protests. There's a link to our Discord there. Follow us on Threads, Denver protests. Follow us on Instagram, also Denver protests. And we're also on Blue Sky. So we're in like all of the places. So make sure connect with us on your favorite platform, or all of them if you feel like it. And yeah,
awesome.
We hope to see you guys out in these streets.
We will see you there. Everyone have a great week whenever you hear this. Great day. Later.
Stay hydrated.
Stay hydrated.
Be gay, do crimes.